right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be getting into the top prop bets today on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Let's go ahead and get into it. So I do want to start out with some PGA props because right now we are getting a pretty big edge, at least with one of the props, but really across the board, we are getting some pretty darn good edges. So let's go ahead and pull up the 9-to-5 golf sheet here. And what I'm going to call out here is this first one, Collin Morikawa, okay, for his greens and regulation. First and foremost, both sites seem to be overvaluing the greens and regulation prop. Typically speaking, this is a course in which really only about 10 greens in regulation are hit. It's about 56% of the greens are hit in regulation. So already it seems like both sites are a little bit too high. Okay, so to me, this screams a very good prop bet on Underdog. But at the same time, maybe the course is playing a little bit easier thus far this week. And from what I have seen, it's not. But at the same time, we are clearly getting a good middling opportunity with a lot of these greens and regulations props. I could pull in Tony Finau into that mix, Xander Schauffele into that mix, and then Scotty Scheffler into that mix as well. Now, Scotty Scheffler is hitting an insane amount of greens and regulation. Actually, so is Xander Schauffele as well. Like both those two are two players that just pepper green. So yeah, probably better prop bets for them to bet the over greens and regulation on PrizePicks for those two, because they are just two players that just, I mean, you can see by the player average, both pepper the greens a ton. Okay. But at the same time, very good middling opportunity there. So you could bet the under greens and regulation on Underdog and then bet the over on PrizePicks. Again, specifically for greens and regulation, I do think that that's a good bet on Underdog. But to my point, like Xander and Scotty are two players that historically just pepper green. So I don't know if you guys want to do that. And then another one, we got fairways hit. This is another one where the fairways are extremely difficult to hit on average here. Only about 7.95 per round are hit. So already you're seeing that Underdog still too high. So to me, I'm perfectly fine firing off these first three on Underdog for the unders. Like to me, that seems like a very good bet. Let's also go ahead and flip this around as well. And what we're going to see is, well, Adam Scott is one of the best golf picks this week in terms of value, but PrizePicks and Underdog know that. Okay, so they are actually bumping his strokes props down a little bit more. And I would say Underdog is probably overvaluing how much hype he's getting, because this probably should be at 69. It really should be. It should be in the middle. Okay. The event average is about 71. Okay. But he is one of the better projected golf plays. Again, it seems like Underdog and PrizePicks are thinking this tournament's going to play a little bit easier. And I'm actually curious here. Let's see. Adam Scott. So DraftKings Sportsbook has been doing these as well, these round props. I wouldn't say they're good, but I was just kind of curious here. So they also seem to be probably, I don't want to say, they're probably saying it's going to play a little bit easier is what I'm seeing here, but really not too bad. Like, for example, Victor Hovland is one of the best golf plays this week. Okay. He's highly likely to get over 68.5. Okay. According to DraftKings Sportsbook, 4 strokes. So Adam Scott, who's not as good of a golfer, like, yeah, bet the over there on Underdog. That seems like a very good prop that we are getting there. Same thing with like Hideki, where like he's another one where, yeah, Brian Harman's going against Lee Hodges and Hideki, but he's projected at 69.5, but that is projected for the over as well. So you guys are seeing we are getting some pretty big edges, but I do think that that is going to be on Underdog. To me, that's where the edge is at. And I do just want to give you guys a bet of the day here for the PGA props. Again, specifically going to be on Underdog here. And then I'll give you guys one on PrizePicks as well. So on Underdog, this is what it's going to be. And I do think that we are getting a better edge here on Underdog. Again, there should never be a 1-stroke prop line difference or even birdie or better or fairways hit or any of that greens and regulation. Like, sure, we bet on the course for the most part, and right now what we're saying is that the course is going to play more difficult. Okay, the rough might be a little bit thicker and whatnot, which is going to play a little bit more difficult. It typically plays like a harder track, like a major. So I do think that we are getting better prop bets than Underdog, but at the same time, this does feel like a pretty good middling opportunity that we are getting. Now, my biggest issue between Underdog and PrizePicks is that for PrizePicks here, I wanted to add in Scotty Scheffler to get over 12.5 greens in regulation, because I do think that is a good prop bet on PrizePicks. They adjusted the payout so much so, like by adding in Scotty here, the payout was actually much worse, which doesn't make any sense. So there is that kind of weird nuance. and maybe you just want to run out these three so the payout's going to be a little bit better because it's three different props, you could do that as well. That's kind of the nice thing about the PGA props that we are getting right now. And so the reason why I kind of did that separately is because, well, it is going to be tomorrow when those props take place. I know a lot of people would like to do it as a day-to-day type thing. So let's go ahead and jump into NBA. In NBA right now, we are getting a few, really good EV bets. We'll see if these ones hold up. They probably won't, just as an FYI. But right now, Mikal Bridges for under his assists at 3.5. We can see the average sportsbook line has this at 2.5. Tatum for under his rebounds at 9.5. Again, the average sportsbook line would have this set at 8.5. Those are two that are going to be bumped. We know that. But then from there, we got Nick Richards for over his fantasy score at 28. And we can see that really we have continuity across the board with that prop, where Vegas is saying it has about a 28.4% for the fantasy score. The percent likelihood for that is about 54%. So very good edge there. And the projection data also has it set at 28. So at least we know that the line that we are getting here of about 54 or 58.5 for the edge here is going to be pretty darn accurate. So decent edge there. And then from there, we are getting a bunch of good EV bets. This is something where we have a huge slate today, guys. It's going to be kind of... I expect a lot of people to be inactive and whatnot. There's one more day before the All-Star break. Again, I think if players are kind of truly questionable, they're more on the side of sitting. But this is a day in which we're going to get a lot of good prop bets that are going to be populating in and out of this. And then if we look at college basketball, it's kind of the reverse of the norm lately, where college basketball, we get insane edges with the fantasy score, where we might be as well, just as an FYI. Like this first one here, fantasy score, we can see a slight edge there where Underdog, they typically are overvaluing college fantasy score props. And so the fact that they're undervaluing compared to PrizePicks, that seems like a pretty darn big edge. But yeah, the norm has been NBA, we're getting smaller edges, and college basketball, we're getting bigger edges. And we can see right now, PJ Hall, for whatever reason, the data always likes to bet him for the under. It seems like it's always the call out. Now, yesterday, we got, I would say, pretty unlucky with the fantasy score props for Chet Holmgren and then Shepard. Shepard was for college basketball. He had 5 steals in that game. I mean, that's great. I mean, I could see 2, I could see 3, but to give 5 and miss out on that because he had 5 steals in a game, I mean, that's pretty crazy. Same thing with Holmgren. He had a bunch of stocks in that game. Obviously, that's something you can't really prepare for. But man, right now we are getting some pretty big prop line differences again for college basketball. Guys, it should never, just like in golf, it should never be more than 1 for a prop line difference. For fantasy score, it should never be more than 2. And that is just crazy. So right now, what I'm seeing here is that because the data already likes the under on PrizePicks here for PJ Hall, the under on Underdog, that's a great bet. Same thing with Young, where we see a clear outlier there. Bet the under there. And then here's another one for Underdog. Sure, the data likes the over here at 36.5 for PrizePicks. This is a great middling opportunity here for Richmond. The average sportsbook line would have set 38. Okay, so we can see already that it's a good middling opportunity. But again, it should be never more than 4. That is crazy, guys. I can't believe that. And even Tristan Newton, that's a decent one there as well. So we have a good way to mix and match all the good prop bets that we are getting today. So again, let's go and get into the bet of the day today. I might include some PGA props as well. And so looking at PrizePicks, I will say the edge that we are getting, I feel like is a little bit more reduced on PrizePicks, but I do also want to call this out. Like, guys, we have a great milling opportunity with these two. So like on PrizePicks, bet the overs for these two. Okay. The fantasy score on Underdog for Richmond is at 40.9, I think, or whatever, around there. 40 it is for sure. And so a good milling opportunity, the average sportsbook line would actually have the set at 38.3. So that tells us great milling opportunity. And then with Colin Morikawa, it should never be 1.5 for a difference. That is crazy. So chances are, yeah, it probably will be 13 greens in regulation. At the same time, this could very well be a push on PrizePicks. Maybe he only gets 12. But the chances of him getting 14 greens in regulation on a course that typically there's only 10, that is crazy to me. So I do think the bigger edges that we are getting is going to be on Underdog, where the data is already agreeing with us that, yeah, sure, Richmond for lower, that's a fun bet there. Like, I'm definitely okay with that. But for Colin Morikawa, like, that makes a lot of sense. And then these other ones where, again, typically speaking, guys, Underdog is typically overvaluing fantasy score props, especially compared to PrizePicks. So when we get one that the data already likes as a good EV bet, and it's telling us about the over and Underdog is lower than PrizePicks, that one sticks out like a sore thumb to me. That is one that I want to be targeting. And we are getting a couple of other prop line differences as well with at least 2. So like really with these 4 right here, if you guys wanted to run this back and bet the overs on PrizePicks like we did with Newton, and I think Newton's a slightly better prop bet on PrizePicks, and I think these ones like Jameer Young and PJ Hall are better under bets on Underdog. If you don't agree, or if you're just like that's fine, I want to middle all those, you can, because again, those are all 2 or greater for fantasy score prop line differences, and they should never be. So that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Give a like and subscribe to the channel. Head on over to 905sports.com to get all the best prop bets each day, available for just $10 a month. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's keep cashing.